Vasudeva.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Namo Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya
Narayanam Namaskritya
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswati Vyasam
Tato Jayam Udirayet.
Tato Jayam Mudirayet.
Shrinvatam Swakatah Krishna
Shrivatam Swakatha Krishna
Yashravana Kirtana
Punyasravana Kirtana
Hridyantasto Hiya Bhadrani
Hridyantasto Hiya Bhadrani
Vidhunoti Suhritsatam
Vidhunoti Suhritsatam
Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu
Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhaktir Bhavati Nayishtike
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtike
Krishnaya Vasudevaya
Krishnaya Vasudevaya
Devaki Nandanaya Cha
Devaki Nandanaya Cha
Nanda Gopa Kumaraya
Nanda Gopa Kumaraya
Govindaya Namo Namaha.
Govindaya Namo Namaha.
Hare Krishna, everyone. So we'll continue studying the chapter 16. We covered, I think, up to 25th verse. So Maharaj Parīkṣit in this chapter, so this is a continuation of the description of the activities of Maharaj Parīkṣit as the ideal ruler. So his marriage.
Yeah, I feel like it should be Akshara.
His marriage was described to daughter of King Uttara, and then he performed 3 horse sacrifices. And another important activity in his life was he chastised Kali. Kali, after the departure of Lord Krishna, because that is the beginning of Kali Yuga, and Kali entered his kingdom. So he wanted to punish Kali because he does not, as long as he's alive, he doesn't want to let Kali enter his kingdom. And he also travels all across all the countries by his neighborhoods. Make sure Kali does not enter there. He enters all those places. Yeah. So when he was traveling to various places, every kingdom he visits, there the king nicely receives Parīkṣit Maharaj, and they always described about Lord Krishna's affection towards his parents, Pandavas, how they were very dear, and how Lord has protected them in various circumstances. This is the constant message that he would hear, and he was very satisfied to hear those from the other kingdoms. And then at some point he meets, he sees one cow and one bull in white color. The bull had its 3 legs cut off. Cow is actually Dharani, or Mother Earth, in the form of cow, and Dharma in the form of a bull. Dharma's 3 legs were cut. Dharma was talking to, or Dharma was inquiring the cow about why she was lamenting. And in that conversation, bull actually, or Dharma, would offer various reasons as to why he was unhappy, or the cow was lamenting. So these are the reasons that we discussed last week. The whole class was about this. And finally, the final proposal was, is it because Lord has left this planet that you are so sad and lamenting? That was her final proposal. Yes. So Dharani replies, yes. And then now this, the next set of verses will describe more about that. So we'll continue from there. Sorry, 5th verse. Now Dharani, or Mother Earth, is answering in the form of cow. Dharani uvacha
Dharani uvacha
Vacha
Bhavan hi veda tatsarvam
Bhavahi veda tatsarvam
yanmam dharmanu prichase
Yamam dharmanu pritchasi
chaturbhir vartase yena
Chaturbhir vartase yena
Adair loka sukhavahai.
Adair loka sukhavahai.
Please read.
The earthly deity, in the form of cow, thus replied to the personality of religious principles in the form of a bull. O Dharma, whatever you have inquired from me shall be known to you. I shall try to reply to all those questions. Once you two were maintained by your four legs, and you increased happiness all over the universe by the mercy of the Lord.
When Dharma is fully followed, there is happiness in the world. And now Dharma's 3 legs were cut, so that will have impact on the happiness of the people of this world. So that's what Mother Earth is saying here. Yeah, so she will answer all the questions. Yeah, please read this.
Happiness in the world depends proportionately on the maintenance of the religious principles, individually or collectively. The best part of valor is to maintain the principles despite all kinds of odds. Thus, one can be happy during the span of life and ultimately return to Godhead.
Yeah. So one should maintain religious principles throughout his life. So that is how he will achieve perfection. Yeah. So now she will talk about the qualities of the Lord, Mother Earth. Satyam Saucham Dayakshantes
Satyam Saucham Daya Shantis
Yaga Santosha Arjavam
Tyaga Santosha Arjavam
Samodamastapasamyam
Samodamastapasyamyam
Titiksho Parati Srutam
Titikshopati Srutam
Jnanam Viraktir Aishwaryam
Jnanam Viraktirashvaryam
Sauryam Tejo Balam Smriti.
Savyam Tejo Balam Smriti
Swatantriyam Kaushalam Kantir
Swatantriyam Kaushalam Kantir
Dhairyam Ardavameva Cha
Dhairyam Ardavameva Cha
Pragalbyam Prashyaseelam
Pragalbyam Prashyaseelam
Saha Ojo Balam Bhaga
Ojo Balam Bhaga
Gambhiryam Stairyam Astikyam
Gambhiryam Stairyam Astikyam
Yirtirmano Nahankrita
Kirtirmano Nahankrita
Ete Chanye Cha Bhagavan
Ete Chanye Cha Bhagavan
Nityayatra Mahaguna
Nityayatra Mahaguna
Radhya Mahatvam Ichadbhir
Pradya Mahatvam Ichhabhir
Naviyanti Sma Karhichet
Naviyanti Sma Karhichet
Tenaham Gunapatrena
Tenaham Gunapatrena
Srinivasena Sampratam
Srinivasena Sampratam
Shochami Rahitam Lokam
Shochami Rahitam Lokam
Apmana Kalinekshitam.
Papmana Kalinekshitam.
Please read.
In him reside truthfulness, cleanliness, intolerance of another's unhappiness, the power to control anger, self-satisfaction, straightforwardness, steadiness of mind, control of sense organs, responsibility, equality, tolerance, equanimity, faithfulness, knowledge, absence of sense enjoyment, leadership, chivalry, influence, the power to make everything possible, the discharge of proper duty, complete independence, dexterity, fullness of all beauty, serenity, kind-heartedness, ingenuity, gentility, magnanimity, determination, perfection in all knowledge, proper execution, possession of all objects of enjoyment, joyfulness, immovability, fidelity, fame, worship, pridelessness, being as a personality of Godhead, eternity, and many other transcendental qualities which are eternally present and never to be separated from Him. That personality of Godhead, the reservoir of all goodness and beauty, Lord Sri Krishna has now closed his transcendental pastimes on the face of the earth. In his absence, the age of Kali has spread its influence everywhere, so I am sorry to see this condition of existence.
She glorified Lord's qualities in this way. So these are all the qualities of Lord. Prabhupada explains some of this, not all of this, but so it's a great description. So Lord was there touching her every day. Everybody steps on earth. So she was so jubilant because of the presence of Lord and these qualities of the Lord. Now that Lord has left and Kali has started, and so naturally she was morose because there is so much calamity going to start now. Yeah.
It is said that Lord Anantadeva has tried to expound the transcendental qualities of the Supreme Lord with his numberless tongues, and that for numberless years together it has been impossible to estimate the qualities of the Lord. The above statement of the qualities of the Lord is just to estimate his qualities as far as a human being is able to see him. But even if it is so, the above qualities can be divided into many subheadings.
So these qualities are, explained here by Prabhupada. Some of them, yeah.
The Lord never deviates from his word of honor. When he gives assurance for protection, the promise is executed in all circumstances. It is a duty of the pure devotee to be fixed in the discharge of the duty entrusted to him by the Lord or the Lord's bona fide representative, the spiritual master. The rest is carried on by the Lord without a break.
So we just need to Yogakshema Vaham Yaham and Kaunteya Pratijanati Name Bhakta Pranishyati. So Lord never deviates from his word of honor. He will protect his devotee, and the duties of the devotee is to just follow his instruction, Lord's instruction, or his bona fide representative's instructions, and he will take care of everything else. Lord has no responsibility towards us, but still he comes again and again out of his fatherly affection. Yeah. Atmanam chanushosasmi, chanusochami.
Atmanam
Sochami.
Bhavantam chamarottamam.
Bhavantam
Sarvottamam.
Devan Pitran Rishin Sadhun.
Devan Rishin Sadhun
Sarvan Varnam Statashraman.
Sarvan
Varnam
Varnam.
Please read.
I'm thinking about myself and also, O best amongst the demigods, about you as well as about all the demigod sages, denizens of Pitraloka, devotees of the Lord, and all men obedient to the system of Varna and Ashrama in human society.
So when Lord came, along with Lord, all these demigods also came, and they were all cooperative. Lord has done a great favor to Mother Earth by eliminating all the unwanted population or unburdened Earth out of all the unwanted population. So now the system of Varna Ashrama was, thoroughly followed by everybody because of the Lord's presence. Now that is in question because Lord has left. People are not going to follow anymore Varnashram.
When God made Varnashrama Dharma, which is strictly meant for developing animal consciousness into human consciousness and human consciousness into worldly consciousness, is broken by advancement of foolishness, the whole system of peaceful and progressive life is at once disturbed.
So Varnashram Dharma is actually created by Lord. Chaturvarna Maya system, Gunakarma Vibhagasha. Lord has created 4 Varnas and 4 Ashramas. It is ideal way of dividing the society for both physical as well as spiritual advancement, economic, and in every way. That's the ideal way of dividing the population at the bodily as well as spiritual level. When humans do not follow, the whole system of peaceful and progressive life is disturbed. Right now, do we follow it? We don't perfectly. But what we follow, but then how do you say we are leading the way Lord wanted us to, at least in Krishna consciousness? So anyone want to answer? How do you see yourself aligned to the system given by Lord? Any thoughts?
So we are all worker class, working for someone.
Yeah, we are all Sudra class. Yeah, Kalasam Sudra Sambhavat means everybody born in Kali Yuga is by birth definitely Sudras. Yes.
But we are trying to follow devotional service. If not all Varnashrams, but if not all the duties mentioned in Varnashram, I think by guidance we are trying to follow devotional service, which is better than Varnashram.
Yeah. Yeah. Varnashrama is ideal for human society. However, if it cannot be followed, what we follow is called Bhagavat Vidhi, aligning every activity with for God's pleasure. That is Bhagavat Vidhi. If one follows that, then it's actually divine Varnashrama or Daivi Varnashrama. Even though it's not properly ordered like Varnashrama, it is perfectly all right. In whatever means we have, if we align every activity with for God's pleasure in our life, then it is perfect. Right? Now the alignment is the challenge. Like how much do we align is left up to us, because some people may align well, some people may not. So that is the challenge, because it is it's not like the system is not supporting, you are supporting yourself. So that is why association is very key. To follow Daivi Varnashrama, one needs good satsang, and that is the reason Prabhupada established temples. Otherwise, if you look at our our lineage in the only like the temples were not as much focus up until Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who started temples all over the country in India. But the temples become like hostage places for, it's like spiritual embassies, where God-centered activities can be performed by common man, everybody in the society, right? And everybody can worship, everybody can perform Navavida Bhakti to the extent possible, right? So that is made possible because of that provision. It is okay. Even if you live in, in a city, you can still follow to a good extent God-centered life. So that is the provision because of the kindness of Acharyas. So in that way, it is okay. Even though we are not per se following Varnashrama Dharma, still able to make progress spiritually, because activities, there are at least a good percentage of activities centered around God, right? Like offering bhoga even at home, and chanting the holy name, hearing Bhagavatam. So these are all very God-centered activities. So in that way,
Prabhuji, I was hearing to the lecture by Amrendra Prabhu. He was telling that in our Gaudiya Sampradaya, it was Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur who established that first 64 temples. And he was the one who propagated the idea that temples should be very opulent. Otherwise, before that, temples were always in a secluded place. It was kept as if, it was more maintained in a small room. The deities were not so beautifully dressed. So it was he who actually introduced the plan. And Prabhupada took it from there, and then, he did all these magical things.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is very true. Because the missionary zeal of spreading Krishna consciousness was, started with Bhaktivinoda Thakur and then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and it was completely executed by Prabhupada in the recent times. Yeah, in the past, our Sampradaya is mostly Bhajananandis. Lot of them in between, there is a great prachar during Haridas Thakur, Srinivas Acharya, and what is his name? Like Nityananda Prabhu and Narottam Das Thakur, right? So those times, there was, the first few generations after Mahaprabhu, after like 5-6 generations were spreading a lot, at least in Bengal and Orissa. But after that, most of the acharyas, they are either scholarly writers, Viswanath Chakravarti Thakur, Baldev Vidyabhushan, or great, devotees who were performing secluded bhajan and accepting the Babaji Vesh, Babaji avatar, or Babaji dress. So that was the mode until Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And he totally changed the game. He actually making it, made it like, accessible to everybody by starting, so many Bhakti Vrakshas, and started spreading the holy name with Surabhi Kunj as the primary place where he would lecture every day in Bhagavatam, on the Bhagavatam, and started writing so many books, spreading his writings, all over the country into most libraries. And his son Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur, he really spread it wide, far and wide. He took sannyas, and this is the first sannyas, official sannyas. Until then, it was only Babaji. Even Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a Babaji. He really, started, beautiful temples, right? You can see that Chaitanya Mat deities are very beautiful. That way, he spread he started 64 temples all over India. He was the first person who created so many temples in those days, 1920s, 30s. So many Gaudiya Mats were started. And Prabhupada took it to the worldwide movement. Like he really extended far and wide. And again, he took the mission of his spiritual master to heart and started so many preaching ideas like Jagannath Rath Yatra, Varnashrama societies, Gurukulas, you name it, like all, everything was tried during Prabhupada's time. And it all happened in 10 years, right? It's almost 11 or 12 years max. It was like pinnacle of, and he was in every television, in US as well as, West, everywhere. So many prominent people across the countries were attracted from various, like society, from various, like scientist community, as well as some people from music background. They were all attracted. Even a lot of scholarly people appreciated Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita in the West, universities. So it really took Krishna consciousness to the next level. And he gave a very good system. Until then, he was a perfect acharya. Prabhupada, he gave what is practically possible, 16 rounds. Until then, it was 64 rounds. And he engaged all the devotees very well. He is the best meticulous, organizer. Established aratis and the way of maintaining temple, which is still followed as it is. Very high standards of cleanliness and decoration. The whole idea is just as it is followed till now. It is, and that following that, the system given as it is helped further increase the number of institutes from 108 to now more than 800, 900, even growing, like larger and larger beautiful temples are same idea.
Prabhuji, one question: why Prabhupada asked to chant 16 rounds? Why not 17 rounds or 15 rounds? Is something behind that 16 number?
I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. So, but yeah, I don't know exactly why he said that. So before that 64 rounds, we know why. Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted everybody to chant 64 rounds. Then only he will visit his place during Chaitanya Mahaprabhu time. So until Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur, that was followed. And Prabhupada reduced because he saw the condition of people. They were traveling for job for 2 hours every day, morning, every day, evening. and they were all engaged in a lot of services at the time, in temple management and construction, spreading Krishna consciousness. So he considered that as equivalent to chanting, all the time that devotees spend in spreading the movement. So, yeah, so that is, so devotees themselves express that 64 rounds, oh wow, so 8 hours, we can't do anything, any other service. We are paralyzed. Then Prabhupada said, at least chant 32 rounds, half of it. And then devotee said, it's impossible, more 4 hours every day, besides our services and work. Then Prabhupada said 16 and no less, 16 minimum rounds, which is half of 32. So he felt that at least devotees will be able to give 2 hours of time every day to Krishna, exclusive time to Krishna in chanting. So the idea is, when you chant only 16 rounds, you are actually doing other things like hearing and also doing some services in either temple or wherever, preaching or whatever, right? So you're doing other things. That is the reason it is okay to. Otherwise, if you have time, you should chant more, as many as possible. Ideally, a lot of devotees chant 32 rounds, as they 32 and 64 also some, as they, as they, find time. And also some make it regulation also. And if you make it a regulation, Krishna will support you also. If you are sincere, you have desire to chant more rounds, yeah, it's possible. I don't know if I answered correctly. I don't know exactly why 16. I guess it is, half and half. Mataji also, Dhanashri Mataji mentioned that.
Right, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, talking about varnas, so nowadays we have other 3 varnas, like army people we can consider as Kshatriyas, business people are there, so worker class is there. So only Brahmana things missing or very less.
Yeah, they're all there. So nominally they are there, but they are not actually. So the first 2 classes, the Brahmana and Kshatriya, the political leaders, you can say like Kshatriya, they are like semblance. There is semblance of Kshatriya. They are there. Society cannot run without these, these people being there, right? So every society, all these political leaders are needed. The people who do business are needed. Worker class is needed, and those intelligent people like scientists are there. Scientists and professors, teachers, they're all considered, Brahmanical in nature, who use, mainly the faculty of mind, right? So there is a semblance of it there, but the varna and ashrama, as as ordained by Lord, they were all centered around God. So there is no ego problem between the people, categories of people. But if you see today, nobody wants to care anybody, right? So the communist movement is all about what? It's about the domination of Sudras, right? Worker class. Worker class want to be the rulers. So that is Communist Party. What is Capitalist Party? Capitalist Party is actually the Vaishyas. Vaishyas want to be the dominant society. So in Kali Yuga, capitalism and communism are prominent because the fight is between business class and labor class. The Brahmanas and Kshatriyas have downgraded, right? The so-called political leaders, they are more or less like business class only. They treat that as a profession, right? They are not really real Kshatriya. Means like Parīkṣit Maharaj. As soon as he saw there is Kali entered his, his kingdom, it doesn't matter how strong he is, he has to fight. Dharma Rakshita Rakshita. So I have to, doesn't matter who the opponent is, how powerful he is, whether it is Kali Yuga or whatever, doesn't matter. I'm going to fight. And he is equally protective towards not just human beings, for all the animals as well, like especially cows, because cows are necessary for yajna, right? Because we depend on cow ghee, cow dung for yajnas. So cow is a sacred animal; it has to be protected. So a kshatriya, an ideal kshatriya, would protect all the four classes of people. One is brahmanas, cow, women and children and old age. So all these five classes are protected by the society as well as the king especially. Right? But today we have a semblant kshatriya, but they're not really kshatriyas. They're so-called kshatriyas in name, but they have no real spirit of kshatriyas. Right? So that's why I'm saying, like, they're not really, they have to be there. Those classes are there, but they're not really filling the place.
One more question, Prabhuji. So, when those days Yadavas used to be there, right? So, are they Kshatriyas or Vaisyas?
Vaishyas.
Vaishyas.
Krishna is born in a Vaishya sect.
How, Prabhuji? Because
He's a
if
king.
you look from Vasudev and Devaki, is Krishna not Kshatriya?
Yeah, he's, but the class, I'm talking about their profession. By profession, they're all considered Vaishya community. But of course, so that country was ruled, that time by, the leaders of Vaishya community, which is, those are the kings. Yeah, by their profession, definitely they're all Vaishyas at the time. So I'll find out more about. I think Vasudev was a Kshatriya only, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, because since Krishna has two parents, it's little dilemma where to classify him.
The original, I mean, the father is Vasudev still. Yeah, he was grown up like a Vaishya, but originally he's, I can say, Kshatriya.
Right.
Brahmadayo bahutitam, no, Brahmadayo bahutitam moksha. Oh, wow, it's a little, okay, this is a little different matter. Let's read the translation. Yeah, please read.
Lakshmi Ji, the goddess of fortune, whose glance of grace was sought by demigods like Brahma, and for whom they surrendered many a day unto the personality of Godhead, gave up her own abode in the forest of lotus flower, engaged herself in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord. I was endowed with specific powers to supersede the fortune of all the three planetary systems by being decorated with the impressions of the flag, thunderbolt, elephant driving rod, and lotus flower, which are signs of the lotus feet of the Lord. But at the end, when I felt I was so fortunate, the Lord left me.
So Mother Earth is lamenting. So she was expressing that Lakshmi, who is the wife of Lord Krishna, all the wives of Lord Rukmini, Satyabhama, Jambavati, they're all expansions of Radharani, and they're all Lakshmis themselves. So they were seeking after the lotus feet of the Lord. There are so many fans for them who want to please Lakshmi Devi by worshipping her and to gain her favors in this world. However, they don't really care at all for her fans. They are looking for the opportunity to serve the lotus feet of the Lord. Right? So that is the greatness of the Lord. So she's just describing the qualities of the Lord. Now she's describing about her own fortune, and about, she was speaking about Lakshmi Devi. So second point says, when Lord was there on earth, her Lord's feet was on constant touch with earth. Every day she would be jubilant with the touch of the Lord and the symbols. So under the lotus feet of the Lord, there are special symbols: flag, thunderbolt, the elephant driving rod, and lotus flower. These are imprinted on the feet of the Lord. So when Lord walks, these symbols would be imprinted on earth. So she was, she was expressing that I was so fortunate. Now Lord has left, and so I am bereft of that fortune. That's what, yeah. So during, whether he is with Pandavas or he's with gopis, whether he is with in Dwarka with his wives, Lord was moving between all these places, right? Sometimes he was with some party. He was with gopis. When he was with gopis, he was not with his parents. And when he was with gopis, he was not with other friends. And when he is with Pandavas, he was not with his wives. Everybody is getting attention of the Lord during some span of the time. But Mother Earth was in constant touch with Lord, because Lord would walk on her every single day. So she was, during his entire lifetime, or his during incarnation time, he was always in touch with Mother Earth. So she was missing that, and so she was expressing this. Please read. I can't hear.
The beauty and opulence of the world can be enhanced by the grace of the Lord and not by any man-made planning. When the Lord Sri Krishna was present on this earth, the impressions of the special signs of his lotus feet were stamped on the dust, and as a result of this specific grace, the whole earth was made as perfect as possible.
Because of the touch of the Lord on the face of earth, it was made perfect, meaning the earth was producing all sorts of opulences in those days, especially when Lord was there. But when Lord left, all the opulence is gone as well, right? Mother Earth's opulences are gone.
We can be connected with him by the transcendental sound representation of the Lord. The holy name of the Lord and the Lord himself are identical, and one who chants the holy name of the Lord in an offenseless manner can at once realize that the Lord is present before him. Even by the vibration of radio sound, we can partially realize sound relativity, and by resounding the sound of transcendence, we can verily feel that the presence of the Lord.
So this is a very practical lesson for all of us. So as you can see, Mother Earth was in constant touch with the Lord, and she had the fortune, all the fortunes during that time. So similarly, when we are in touch with Lord constantly through chanting his holy name on our tongue, we are also going to achieve the same benedictions like Mother Earth, right? So it is all auspicious to our own life, being in the presence of the Lord through chanting of the holy name, constant chanting of the holy name. So that is the reason Mahaprabhu spread the holy name that is mentioned here. The offenseless chanter of the holy name of the Lord is as auspicious as the Lord himself. And the movement of pure devotees of the Lord all over the world can at once change the troublesome face of the world.
Prabhuji, why in two places they are mentioned as offenseless?
Yeah. So there are 10 offenses when chanting the holy name, and those are those are called nama aparadas. So offenseless chanting is going to give full benefit of the power of the chanting. Otherwise, it's called nama bhas or nama aparad chanting. It will have its effect, it will have some benefit, but the effect of the holy name is less. So one should be careful about the offenses, right? So I hope all of you have the list of offenses to avoid. So there is a list of things that we chant in the morning as well after Mangala Arati. One should not equally consider Brahma or Lord Shiva to be equal to or independent of Lord Krishna, like that. So there are 10 of them. I don't want to repeat them all here, but so one should be very careful to not commit those offenses especially when chanting. One thing is, distracted chanting. One should avoid that.
Okay, Prabhuji. I can find it in Google, right? The Nama Aparada.
I will share with you in the class. Yeah.
The temple book we can find. Prabhuji, I had one question. Sorry, I'm deviating. As Shivratri is coming, I'm seeing that so many ISKCON temples are celebrating Shivratri, but Prabhupada never mentioned to celebrate Shivratri, Prabhu. So how do we understand this, and how should we perceive this, Prabhuji?
So we celebrate, but we understand the mood also. We take Lord Shiva as the greatest Vaishnava, right? So it's his night of service to Krishna. So that is how they see, the devotees see. So it is the conception that matters the most. Even when Lord Chaitanya was in his pastimes, he would often visit Lord Shiva's temples and dance for the holy name, chanting the holy name, and because that pleases Lord Shiva. Vaishnavanam yatha sambhu. So there is, if the right mood is maintained, it's not wrong to to commemorate Lord Shiva in ISKCON temple also, as long as the right mood is maintained, right? And that is so in most temples. They do under guidance. They don't generally. These are all ordained at a leadership level like GBC. They tell, okay, so if you want to celebrate this way, these are the provisions, these are the things you can do, these are the things you should not do. They have set rules, and generally all temples obey that. So that is the reason you would see, it may not be talked about much, but generally they don't do anything that is not sanctioned at a leadership level, right? Yeah. Yo vai mamata bhiram ashuravam sarajnam.
Yo vai mampai mamati bharam asuravam sarasnam.
Shauhini satam anudad atmatantra.
Tantra
Tvam dushtamuna padamatmani paurushena. Sampadayan yadushuram yam abhibrad angam.
Prabhuji, can you please zoom, Prabhuji? We can't see.
Oh, a little bit. Okay. Is it better?
Little more. Prabhuji. Yeah.
Please read.
O personality of religion, I was greatly overburdened by the undue military phalanxes arranged by atheistic kings, and I was relieved by the grace of the personality of Godhead. Similarly, you were also in a distressed condition, weakened in your standing strength, and thus he also incarnated by his internal energy in the family of the Yadus to relieve you.
So they were praising Lord as to how Lord has relieved their specific issues, right? So by clearing so many unwanted kings, military rulers through the organized fights, Lord has unburdened earth. Similarly, he has strengthened the dharma also, following of religious dharma. So in this way, he saved all of them. Yeah, please read this.
The asuras want to enjoy a life of sense gratification, even at the cost of others' happiness. In order to fulfill this ambition, the asuras, especially atheistic kings or state executive heads, try to equip themselves with all kinds of deadly weapons to bring about a war in a peaceful society.
We see that.
In,
Yeah. So we see.
Sorry, should I read from it? Okay. In such a situation, the personality of Godhead incarnates.
Sorry. Yeah.
In such a situation, the personality of Godhead incarnates to vanquish the unwanted asuras and to re-establish the true principles of religion. This was the mission of Lord Sri Krishna, and he fulfilled it.
Yeah. Kava saheta viraham purushottamasya.
Kavasahet Purushottamasya
Premavaloka ruchirasmitavalgujalpai.
Premavalokaruchirasmitavalgujalpai
Stairyam samanamaharam madhumani nanam.
Stairyam samanamaharam madhumani
Romotsavo mamayat anagri vitankitaya.
Romotsavo mama yajnandi vitankitaya.
Who therefore tolerate the pangs of separation from that Supreme Personality of Godhead, he could conquer the gravity and passionate wrath of his sweethearts like Satyabhama by his sweet smile of love, pleasing glance, and hearty appeals. When he traversed my earth's surface, I would be immersed in the dust of his lotus feet, and thus would be sumptuously covered with grass, which appeared like hairs standing on me out of pleasure.
The glorifying Lord's personal touch and personal experiences of his queens. So Lord would be Premavaloka Ruchiras Mitavalgu Jalpai. So the way he dealt were very sweet with his wives or even other devotees, right? Pleasing glances and hearty appeals. Whatever he talks touches the heart. That is how Lord would deal with everybody he dealt with. He would capture the heart of everybody he talked to. Pleasing glances, very sweet glances, right? That is why we see now some devotees, they are very advanced. Even when they look at us, we feel completely satisfied. Just that look is enough for us. Those who are very pure devotees, because they completely represent Krishna with their, these are advanced devotees, and some sannyasis, or just by receiving a glance of them, we feel completely blessed. Yeah. So Mother Earth was completely immersed in the dust of his lotus feet and so jubilant for that. And her hair, which is like grass, would stand on end. Yeah, please read.
There were chances of separation between the Lord and his thousands of queens because the Lord's being absent from home. But as far as his connection with earth was concerned, the Lord would traverse the earth with his lotus feet, and therefore there was no chance of separation. When the Lord left the surface of the earth to return to his spiritual abode, the earth's feelings of separation were therefore more acute.
Yeah. So everybody misses Lord. Yeah, that is the point. Evam tayor evam katayota katay TV dharmayostada Rikshinama Rajarshi
Parīkṣit Rajarshi
Apratim Saraswatim.
Prapta
Prapta Saraswatim. While the earth and the personality of religion were thus engaged in conversation, the saintly king Parīkṣit reached the shore of Saraswati river, which flowed towards the east.
So Dharani and Dharma, the Mother Earth and the personality of religion were discussing in this way, glorifying the Lord, at which time suddenly King Parīkṣit appeared. No, they were discussing, and there is Kali there who is trying to punish them. And suddenly Parīkṣit Maharaj sees that and he tries to inquire what is going on there. So that is the next chapter, 17th chapter, punishing of Kali. So 329. So maybe we should start next week. I actually plan to do, but like 15 verses, but I don't think the whole section is 16 verses. I'm doing section by section. I think we should cover next week. Any other questions, discussion points?
Prabhuji, as Gaur Purnima is coming, can we have few nectaral talks from you every day, Prabhuji?
Every day?
Maybe like every evening, 7:30 to 8:30. You can talk about some prominent pastimes of Chaitanya Charitamrita.
10 minutes like that? Like short and
Yeah.
I don't know how many would like to attend though.
Half an hour also, Prabhuji.